What's good? It's your boy Z, and I just want to talk about these three and what's going on in the basketball world. First off, starting with Paul George. Okay, we seen the media day for for those who are Clipper fans. Shouts out to my Clipper fam. Okay, we've all seen that. If you watch the interviews or you watch the media day, Paul George pretty much explained that he has no beef with Doc Rivers at all. Like that notion that he don't respect Doc Rivers and him not showing up to practice, that was all lies. It's all false. And just like I told you in the Montrezl Harrell video, Montrezl was the one stabbing the Clippers behind the back the whole time. The only one who really had a problem with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, for that matter, and them supposedly having special treatment and them not showing up to practice when they want to and this and that, was Montrezl Harrell. I'll tell y'all, Montrezl is the one that putting it out there on the media for people like Shannon Sharp and Chris Broussard to basically critique the Clippers hard. Okay? And speaking of Shannon Sharp, he really need to do his research before he goes off doing segments with Skip Bayless. Because if Shannon Sharp was paying attention to Paul George on media day, Paul George basically said that it was his fault that the Clippers lost. Paul George admit that he played bad. He played terribly. So for Shannon Sharp to say, "Oh, Paul George is just trying to put the blame on Doc, he ain't trying to hold no accountability," that's fake. That's false. Paul George understands that he's one of the leaders of the team with Kawhi. So Paul George on that panel hold himself full accountable for that 3-1 loss. Being up 3-1 and giving up the lead and losing to Denver the way he did, he admitted it, that it was his fault. And I'm going to say this too, as far as the stuff going on between him and Doc Rivers' daughter, them two have moved on. That's personal business. All that has nothing to do with the basketball game itself. Paul George to move on with his fiance, which he's engaged recently. The man got a ring on his baby mama. And then Doc Rivers' daughter has moved on to Seth Curry, Steph's little brother. For those of you who don't know, Seth Curry, who is the little brother of Steph Curry's little brother is getting married to Doc Rivers' daughter. So they're going to be in-laws. They're going to be a family. So pretty much Austin Rivers is going to be officially the Curry's brother-in-law playing the lead. That's one of the reasons why Doc Rivers chose to basically hire Seth Curry onto his Philadelphia 76ers. Which people criticized him for hiring Austin Rivers on the Clippers when he was a GM and president. So everything Paul George said about Doc Rivers is true. Doc Rivers don't know how to coach. He ain't coaching properly. Paul said that Doc Rivers tried to turn him into a spot-up shooter. Paul George said, "That's not my game. I'm not Ray Allen. I'm not J.J. Redick." And I'll admit that Paul George is better at the 3 position anyway. If it was up to me, I would have, if I'm Ty Lue or Chauncey Billups, I would switch Paul George and Kawhi Leonard's positions. And I would have Kawhi Leonard at the 2 and Paul George at the 3 instead. But anyways, Paul George is not lying, man. Doc Rivers, I told y'all in my other video, Doc Rivers had to go. That man been taking losses since Paul George was in OKC. See, people want to act like, and people want to forget that Doc Rivers was losing when he was a GM and a president. At one time, Doc had full control over the Clippers. That Donald Sterling gave him before Donald Sterling got fired. Like before Steve Ballmer became the new owner, Doc Rivers had full control over that Clippers team, over the roster. It means that man can run the roster, not only coach it, but he also can sign players. And Doc was the one that traded away like 4 first-round draft picks in 3 years in a row to get older players, guys like Grant Hill, Hideo Turkoglu, and Paul Pierce, who are all aged. Those guys were old. They were never going to help the Clippers get to no championship. The problem with Doc is he's got Paul Pierce way too late. He should have got Paul Pierce when he was in Brooklyn or when he was in before he went to Washington. Before Paul Pierce went to the Washington Wizards for them 2 years, because Paul Pierce was still putting up solid numbers. When Doc went to the Clippers, it should have been the time he should have made a trade for Paul Pierce. That would have been a perfect time. And to get KG as well. But he screwed up his window of opportunity on that one. And remember, man, let's not forget, the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead against James Harden's Houston Rockets back in the 2015 season, right after they beat San Antonio. So people can put the blame on Paul George all you want to. Doc Rivers been taking losses. And like I said before in a previous video, Doc Rivers has lost to all head coaches that are younger than him. Remember, Scott Brooks was younger than Doc. Scott Brooks, Dan Snyder of the Utah Jazz, and Terry Stotts of the Portland Trail Blazers. And now we have Mike Malone last season. All head coaches who don't have nearly as much coaching experience as Doc has. They ain't been in the league as Doc has been either. Doc been in the league over 20 years as a player and coach, and still have took loss. Doc Rivers has not been the same since losing to Kobe Bryant and Phil Jackson in the 2010 NBA Finals. And remember, he was up 3-2. All Doc Rivers had to do was close out in Game 6. He couldn't do it. You know, Phil Jackson fell out of the way to slow down Doc Rivers' coaching, to slow down the Celtics' victory, and Kobe Bryant was able to make that comeback. And in Game 7, it was over. Doc was going to beat Kobe Bryant in Game 7. But the fact that Paul George basically said that it was his fault, and he has to be better, then I commend him for that, because Paul George is owning up to his faults. Same thing with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard said this was a learning experience for him. So y'all need. So again, that's why I say, man, people sometimes can't take this media seriously because they don't like the Clippers at all. I'm telling you, Chris Broussard and even Nick Wright, Shannon Sharp, they don't like the fact that Kawhi Leonard chose Clippers over the Lakers. Kawhi made a fool out of Chris Broussard. I told y'all that. They pissed off. That was not in the media's plans for Kawhi Leonard to join the Clippers. They wanted Kawhi Leonard to join in with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and form a big three like LeBron had in Miami and Cleveland, so LeBron could go to 3 straight NBA Finals and finally match Jordan. That's what they actually wanted. The fact that Kawhi Leonard is with the Clippers is threatening to LeBron James. That's why LeBron James had to have Montrezl Harrell signed to his Clutch Sports and have Montrezl Harrell signed with the Lakers. Because remember, Montrezl didn't thank the Clippers organization all for having him. That man didn't say goodbye to Bomber, Lawrence Frank, or Mike Winger, let alone Jerry West. That man signed with the Lakers fast. Then he started talking all this mess about the Clippers. But with that being said, Paul George and Kawhi can move on. The Clippers are actually going to be much stronger because they got a brand new coaching staff. You got Ty Lue, Kenny Atkinson, who's good at development, and then you got Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups is a veteran point guard. As a player, has led his team to 2 back-to-back NBA Finals, going 1-for-1. So Billups is the best there is. That's just like when Nets just hired Steve Nash. So people need to get off Paul George's back. I'm serious, and that's getting terrible. Now, moving on to Giannis. Now, somebody brought this to my attention on one of my videos. Who's a Laker fan? And the dude said, He said, Z, how do you feel about Giannis joining Lakers? Now I'm just gonna give my personal opinion, right? Because I know everybody is different about this. I know, of course, I know Laker fans now would love Giannis to come there because that means they'll give him another championship. Me, on my personal opinion, what I feel, I don't think Giannis should be joining no Kawhi Leonard. I don't think he should be joining no Anthony Davis or LeBron James. He definitely can't join no Kawhi Leonard. Giannis can't go to LA, period. For starters, Giannis can't go to either one of LA teams because, one, it's a lot of money. Okay, that's a lot. That's going on the salary cap. I don't know how the Lakers going to even try to sign Giannis for starters because Anthony Davis just signed a big contract. LeBron just got an extension. So for starters, for the Lakers to even get Giannis, they have to give up not only Kyle Kuzma, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will have to probably get traded. You'll have to give up Marquise Morris, the other Morris twin. Alex Caruso. They have to give up a whole lot for Giannis. Because Giannis has not signed an extension yet. So there's word that the Lakers are trying to recruit Giannis. I don't want Giannis in there. For one financial reason, it would not be a smart fit. Because how's the Lakers going to make that work? They don't have that money. If the Lakers are trying to sign Giannis without giving up nothing, that means they're illegal. Because they don't have the funds. They're going to put them way over the luxury tax. But 2, how's LeBron James going to call himself the GOAT if you need Giannis on your team? It's like, how many more superstars do the Lakers actually need? I'm being extremely honest. That's too much. Again, if LeBron wants to truly prove that he's great and he's on Jordan level, then he needs to just make it work with just him and Anthony Davis being the only 2 superstars on that team. You don't need a third guy. This is why I don't respect LeBron James. I keep telling y'all that. Notice, the other top 5, top 10 Hall of Famers such as Tim Duncan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, MJ himself, Detroit Pistons bad boy Isaiah Thomas, and so forth. Even Hakeem Olajuwon. None of these guys had a super team like that. Look at Larry Bird. The Celtics pretty much drafted most of their guys. When Larry Bird was leading the Celtics to the finals all that time against the Lakers, most of those guys were drafted, like Rod Parrish. I think Kevin McHale was already there. The only one who came as a free agent was probably Bill Walton. That was the only one. But Larry Bird was a draft pick. The Celtics Red Auerbach drafted Larry Bird. They didn't really know. Again, the Celtics was good because they had good management. Red Auerbach is one of the greatest owners in NBA history, behind Jerry Buss. Well, next to Jerry Buss, they team is officially tied for championships. But Red Auerbach did it the hard way. Havlicek, those are all draft picks. That's what people need to understand. Bill Russell was a draft pick. The Celtics drafted their dynasty team. They didn't go off getting free agents like that. Of course, okay, Celtics was like a super team because they were so powerful, but they were a super team through drafting. No different than what the Golden State Warriors did in the last 5 seasons. I feel Giannis needs to stay put in Milwaukee. Giannis likes being there anyway. So no, I do not want to see Giannis go to no Los Angeles Lakers. I don't see how that wouldn't be fair to the league. Because again, the Bucks can't even get Bogdanovich. They can't even get the player they wanted. Because them getting just Drew Holiday ain't enough for that roster. The Milwaukee Bucks originally was going to trade DiVincenzo and Ilyasova over to Sacramento Kings so they get Bogdanovich. So that Bogdanovich can pair up with Drew Holiday and Giannis can have a big 3 of his own. That didn't even work out. The league supposedly investigated and stopped it altogether. So Bogdanovich chose to go to Atlanta instead. Milwaukee, to me, got the ultimate screw job. It's like, yeah, they don't want Giannis to get no help down there. No, I do not want Giannis joining the Lakers. Why should Giannis have to join the Lakers? Giannis has worked very hard to not only become a 2-time league MVP, but to have the Bucks be competitive again, much like they was in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson days in the 1970s. The last time the Bucks was ever competing for championships or ever had an NBA Finals championship victory was in 1971. Now later on, Ray Allen, along with Vin Baker, was able to get them to the Eastern Conference Finals, but that team couldn't beat Iverson. But Giannis finally has the Bucks on top of the Eastern Conference as one of the most competitive teams. No, man, Giannis, I don't see that happening. I don't think Giannis himself is going to the Lakers. That's all rumors, once again told by the Lakers media. No, Shannon Sharp, Nick Wright, those guys want Giannis to join the Lakers. I don't know why Skip even brought it up. Now, at least Shannon said no. He thinks Shannon said he thought that what LeBron, the Lakers have is enough. He don't even want Giannis over there, but even then, man, like I don't want to see LeBron have another superstar like that. Because once again, it's a super team. These super teams are really not that good for the league. I'm telling you now, teams like the Clippers, the Suns, the Hornets, the Sacramento Kings, no, none of these particular teams can get to the finals. They can't win a championship. The Milwaukee Bucks, like I said, they haven't won a championship since 1971. That was over 50 years ago. You got teams that are struggling now to try to get to barely get out the second round. Indiana, when was the last time we ever seen them win an NBA championship? That's what I'm saying. And then teams like the Golden State Warriors and Spurs, they barely got 4 and 5. The Warriors only got 4 championships in that last run. Yeah, Curry, the Splash Brothers with Draymond, and even Kevin Durant, they was only really able to get 3. And then they still have the one that Rick Barry won, Chamberlain won back in the 70s. I think it was 74. I think it was either 70s or 80s they won a championship. But that's it, man. The Warriors barely have 4. The Spurs only got 5. Bulls got 6. And the Heat only have 3. The Lakers got 17 world championships. They're tied up with Boston. The Lakers, as far as I'm concerned, they got to go through things the hard way. They can't keep having it easy. LeBron can't keep having it easy every year. That ain't right. Yeah, you wonder why people have a problem with LeBron. This is why LeBron will never get the respect he deserves because he keeps going after these top-tier free agents. You got to have all the best players on this team. When that man was in Miami, he couldn't just do it with Wade and Bosh. They had to have more. You had to get Shane Battier. You had to get Ray Allen. You had to get Rashard Lewis. Even now, the Clippers, they had to take Montrezl Harrell away from the Clippers. You got to get Wesley Matthews. You got to Again, man, like I said, you gotta have all these good. You gotta get Dennis. You gotta trade for Dennis Schroeder. You gotta get all the good guys you want. And I understand they trying to do what they gotta do to win a championship, but it's how you do it. Again, all Jordan really needed was Scottie Pippen. Jordan won with Scottie Pippen all 6 of his NBA champions, both of his three-peats. All Shaq needed was Kobe Bryant. Those were the only 2 superstars because Robert Horry, Rick Fox, and Derek Fisher, those guys were all role players. Isaiah Ryder was a role player. Lou Walton, all role players. Yeah, they had Gary Payton and Carmelo, but those were old guys. They were old timers by the time they joined the Lakers. They didn't even beat the Pistons because Shaq and Kobe got into that trouble with the law, and Shaq's relationship with Kobe was tarnished. But despite all that, the Lakers three-peated the last time because of Kobe and Shaq. And then Kobe Bryant. When Shaq left, Kobe proved he could win a championship with him being the main guy. All Kobe really had was Ron Artest. Was like the only superstar he had because Paul Gasol wasn't that much of a superstar no more when he got the Lakers. People consider him a role player. Paul Gasol was mostly a superstar when he was on the Memphis Grizzlies in them days when Jerry West was the GM. So y'all must understand, none of these other free agents did what LeBron James did. Jordan, not Magic, not Kareem, not Tim Duncan. None of those guys recruited players to come join him like LeBron did. LeBron has his own agency, Clutch Sports, with Rich Paul, who's his best friend, that signed the players to his agency and have them play with him, play with LeBron. Jordan didn't have no agency like that. Tim Duncan didn't have no agency like that. Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba himself, did not have an agency. A sport agency where his best friend is recruiting players and signing guys onto his agency, and all these guys are playing with him. The Black Mamba didn't have to do that. Shaq don't even have his own sports agency. But LeBron do, right? So, in other words, LeBron is telling everybody the league revolves around me. But it's going to come a time when LeBron James' time going to end. Now, okay, yeah, he got this championship now, but make it work with Anthony Davis. Make it work with Schroeder. Make it work with Markieff Morris and Alex Caruso and Kyle Kuzma. You don't need Giannis there. No, as far as I'm concerned, Giannis needs to stay put on Eastern Conference. Because it's not enough. Again, there's not enough. Everybody complaining that the Eastern Conference is weak. Then let Giannis stay over there. The Western Conference got more than enough guys. Way more. So no, man. What Giannis need to do, the market needs to try to trade for Harden. That's what they need to do. And then speaking of James Harden, if I'm James Harden, I'm getting out of Houston immediately now. Now it's time to leave. There's no point in Harden staying in Houston no more. I understand that James Harden is their main franchise player. He's been there for like the last 7 years, since 2013. I get all that, I understand that, but it's time. The time is up. They tried to win a championship with Harden and they failed twice. James Harden had led this Houston Rockets team to 2 back-to-back Western Conference Finals. Each time they failed against Golden State. Now it's time to leave. You just now traded Westbrook going over to Washington for John Wall. And I'm going to say this now. John Wall is not a better player than Russell Westbrook. Yeah, the two may have similar play styles, but at the end of the day, Russell Westbrook is a former league MVP just like Harden is. Matter of fact, James Harden won the league MVP a year after Westbrook did in 2017. Okay, Harden is a 2018 league MVP. Westbrook is a 2017. I told y'all why that team didn't work out. And then the Rockets already traded most of their playoff championship core anyway. Tyrese already been left. Clint Capella is gone. You don't have Nene, Ryan Anderson, they're gone. Robert Covington, you just traded him away. It's time to go. It's time to say goodbye. And if I'm the Rockets, I'll gladly take DiVincenzo. Because DiVincenzo is not only a shooting guard, he's a point guard, shooting guard. He's only 23 years old. He's young. The man, he's full of energy. He's just like Tyler Hero that the Miami has. He's like a little Luke Kennard. The man can hit from over 40% from the three-point line. That's what the Bucks need. That's what the Houston Rockets need. And remember, the Bucks is going to really trade DiVincenzo off anyway. You might as well do it now in exchange for James Harden. Because if Giannis can get James Harden, Giannis will be happy to sign an extension and restructure his deal so it can fit with James Harden. Because the Bucks actually have enough salary cap and money to make Harden and Giannis work on their team. All you got to do is have Giannis sign for a fraction of his of the money he ought to be getting. To get James Harden, Giannis will be happy to sacrifice some of his max deal. And then with Drew Holiday, they officially have a competitive big three. Drew Holiday, who's a superstar in his own right, Jrue Holiday could ball and outplay any guard in front of him. I'm going to say that, man. Jrue Holiday has been a true sleeper. That man always been reliable. So Jrue Holiday, James Harden, Giannis, along with Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez, that could give the Milwaukee Bucks a very competitive starting five. And they can finally be able to compete amongst the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics and even the Toronto Raptors. Especially the Philadelphia 76ers if they can get them three. If they can get Harden team, they have everything they need. Because I don't think it's fair for the league to stop Bogdanovich from going to Milwaukee. So you done made Bogdanovich go somewhere else, but Milwaukee can't trade for Harden? If I'm Milwaukee, I'm going after Harden. If the league try to stop me from trading for Harden, we're gonna be taking it to court. Adam Silver gonna be having his job on the line. Now I understand why Harden wants to go to the Brooklyn Nets, because it gives him that'll be a super team with him, Durant, and Kyrie Irving. That could be what Durant had with Golden State. And then it gives Harden another, plus Harden is already cool with D'Antoni. D'Antoni's assistant behind Steve Nash. He idolizes Steve Nash. That's why he has the 13 jersey number. He's always worn it since his Artesia High School days. I remember telling y'all about that anyway. So yeah, so Harden going to Brooklyn, it makes perfect sense. And plus, all Houston will have to do is trade for Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert. With Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert, Houston will automatically have their 6th man and then have their starting shooting guard to go along with John Wall. So it works out on both ends. And as far as his old buddy Westbrook is paired up with Scotty Brooks. And for all we all know, Scott Brooks was able to get to the finals with Russell Westbrook being his point guard. So Scott Brooks will already know how to utilize Russell Westbrook. He already knows how to use a playbook to be built around Russell Westbrook. And Bradley Beal could pretty much be his Kevin Durant. Because Bradley Beal could already play the 3. Bradley Beal's not in the same boat as Klay Thompson. No, Klay Thompson, like I told you before, he can't be playing the small forward position because that's not wise. That wouldn't be good on his health. Klay Thompson's mostly a spot-up shooter. Klay Thompson's not known for going to the rim like that all the time, dunking the rim. I mean, he can, don't get me wrong, but Klay Thompson at his best, we just spot-up shooting. We all know Steph Curry in the Warriors goes to the rim and lays it up. Or he does that one broken floater, or he can just spot up. But he mostly kicks it off to Klay Thompson, because Klay Thompson just mostly shoots in the corner. And I don't know why Golden State even trying to change for James Harden. That would not be the wise move. Because if Warriors try to change for James Harden, you basically telling Klay Thompson, you're damaged goods. We don't believe in you no more. No, that's another thing I'm hearing too. Word around the league is that the Warriors are trying to go after James Harden. No, if they go after James Harden, what was the point in trading away D'Angelo Russell? You had a superstar guard, D'Angelo Russell. You just traded him away. Because you want room for you. You ain't trying to replace Klay Thompson. No, Harden don't need to go to no Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are nowhere near a championship team anyway. No, everybody knows that the Warriors don't function unless Steph and Klay are fully healthy. No, Harden don't need to go over there. No. Harden will only make things difficult because, again, Harden's going to want the ball in his hands, and everybody knows Steph Curry runs that team. No. No, I don't want to see that happening. And furthermore, James Harden and Steph Curry are rivals anyway. Steph Curry is James Harden's arch nemesis on the Western Conference. Those two didn't have numerous battles back and forth. Those two have battled in 3 Western Conference championships. Harden wants to beat Steph Curry. He don't want to join Curry. Man, no. Hell no. No, if anything, the Warriors need to trade Draymond for Kyle Kuzma. Like I said before, trading Draymond Green for Kyle Kuzma, that makes perfect sense. I told y'all, Draymond Green would love to play with LeBron anyway. They both part of Clutch Sports. LeBron James and Draymond Green have been buddy-buddy for a long time now. Since last year. Ever since Draymond Green got on that barbershop show with LeBron James, they've been buddy-buddy ever since. They talk to each other on the phone. They're very close. Let LeBron James have Draymond Green. But to me, Kyle Kuzma will fit in with the Warriors anyway because he fits their style. Fast-paced 3-and-D. Kyle Kuzma can shoot threes just as much as Steph and Klay and even Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins. It works out perfectly. With Kyle Kuzma, the Warriors to have the team they had when they won their first championship. Kyle Kuzma would be like the Harrison Barnes, pretty much. And that works out for both sides. And with Draymond Green, Montrezl, AD, and LeBron, the Lakers will have all the defense they need to try to make another run for the finals. So it works out perfectly on both ends. No, let Draymond Green, trade Draymond Green for Kyle Kuzma. and let Harden either be traded to Milwaukee or let him be traded to Brooklyn. Because I can see Harden working out both, saying both teams, right? If Harden goes to Milwaukee with Giannis, that could possibly put Giannis into the finals. Giannis would sure enough have the guard he needs to take this team to the finals. The Bucks could sure enough get to the NBA finals with him, Jrue Holiday, James Harden, Brook Lopez, and Chris Middleton. Because the Milwaukee already have a decent bench. When Giannis was out, the bench proved they could actually win a playoff game without him. And then if Harden goes to Brooklyn, he automatically got chemistry with Kevin Durant. Him playing with Kevin Durant would be like him playing with Westbrook. Except now you got Kyrie Irving, who's still a top 5 point guard in this league, despite the injuries. And you got D'Antoni over there, and you got your idol Steve Nash, who he looks up to. It's like his mentor. Harden has followed his game after Steve Nash, so it'll be a match made in heaven with Harden over there. So no, let Harden go to the Eastern Conference. Don't put Harden on the Warriors. The same way I don't want Giannis to go on to play with no LeBron James, because I see Giannis as being more of a rival to LeBron. Since LeBron James left the Eastern Conference, Giannis became the man. Yet Giannis stayed on the Eastern Conference. I don't even want Giannis trying to go to my LA Clippers. Even though it was sure enough put my Clippers in the finals, I feel the Clippers could make it work with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers got Ty Lue and they got what they need. No, let's keep the league at a balance. And at least if Harden does go to the Brooklyn Nets, the Nets have not won a championship in years. They ain't won a championship since the Dr. J days. So the Nets would need Durant and Kyrie Irving along with Harden. Let Steve Nash try to win him a championship as a coach for the first time. That would actually work out very well. The Nets ain't never won no NBA championship, because when the Nets was last in the NBA Finals, when they had Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson, Keith Van Horn, Trayvon Kittles, and I think you had I think you also had Kenyon Martin. That team didn't win no championship. They lost to both San Antonio and the Los Angeles Lakers. That was the days when they had Byron Scott as a head coach. So for Harden to go to Brooklyn and form a super team, I wouldn't mind that at all. Because the Nets don't have the Nets ain't got no multiple championships. The Nets don't got no 15, 16 championships like that. So that's why I say teams like that can be a super team, because again, they ain't had it before. Same thing with the Warriors. The Warriors actually proved that the Warriors actually won a championship before Durant got there. So it wasn't like the Warriors actually needed Durant. Durant chose to go to the Warriors, but the Warriors didn't really need Durant. I mean, the Warriors could have made it work had they kept Andrew Bogut and Harrison Barnes. They could have ran it back again. That's how good that team was. Steph and Clay are good by themselves. Okay, the Splash Brothers are proving that they could lead this Warriors team to the finals and win a championship. No, putting Harden on the Warriors, that if you're gonna put Harden on the Warriors, you might as well trade Klay Thompson away. I'm gonna be very honest. Because those are two of the same player. They're both superstar guards. Even though Klay Thompson doesn't have an MVP like Harden does, again, Klay Thompson's a 3-time NBA champion. So if the Warriors exchange Draymond Green for Harden, you might as well trade Klay Thompson away too. That's just how I feel. Because Klay Thompson's not going to be happy with Harden there. And Harden is not going to come off the bench. And Klay Thompson can't play the small forward position. Neither one of them. For one, you can't have James Harden playing the 3 because he ain't going to play that good of a defense. His defense is not good enough to play the 3. The Rockets tried that already and failed. I think D'Antoni tried to put Harden at the small forward position, and he had to switch it immediately. Now, both Klay and James Harden are better at the 1 or the 2. James Harden proved he could play the 1 position. Anyways, folks, that's the video. So basically, Paul George pretty much admit that he was wrong, and he's ready to move on. And this season, Paul George may actually play better. We may see playoff P return after all. Giannis is going to be staying put with the Milwaukee Bucks. He ain't really leaving. Giannis is going to pretty much stay because that's truly his team. Giannis has left a mark in Milwaukee. He's their guy. All the Bucks really need to do is add one more of the superstar. That's what the Bucks need to do. They need to try to go after James Harden. And if I'm James Harden, I'm leaving Houston immediately. I'm not finna have a conversation with Silas, the brand new head coach. I'm done. The Rockets need to rebuild anyway. They need to do like San Antonio and Phoenix has been doing. They need to rebuild. That team needs to start off from scratch. And getting somebody like a DiVincenzo or a Kessler and Dinwiddie would be better off with them. Because John Wall, the problem with John Wall, and even though I know they got Boogie, but the problem with Boogie Cousins, and this is why Harden don't need to stay, Boogie ain't played since last year. That man missed all. He didn't play at all this season because of injuries. John Wall has also been injured. So John Wall is not going to be the same player no more. The Rockets going to be basically getting a subpar version of John Wall. I don't think John Wall is going to ever go back to how he was in 2015 and 2014. I think John Wall's window opportunity was, I think, in 2017 when him and Bradley Beal was in the playoffs. Matter of fact, when they had Paul Pierce and they was in the second round, that was their last chance. So yeah, if I'm James Harden, I'm not sticking around no more. It's over. I'm going somewhere so I can get me a ring. So that should be the thing on James Harden's mind, is how I'm gonna get me a championship ring. But yeah, so if I'm the Rockets, yeah, I think James Harden needs to go. If I'm James Harden, it's all about trying to get a title under my name, so I don't end up like Charles Barkley. Remember, folks, that's the video, man. Y'all like, subscribe, comment if you feel like. Y'all stay blessed, stay tuned, and as always, I'll see you soon.